It's all yours.
Awesome. All right. So, Jessica, did you have a couple of things you wanted to say first, or you want me to jump right in there?
Jump right in.
All right, fantastic. So I'll get started. The first thing I'll do is share my screen. What I want to do is show you guys, before we even get started, how you'll be able to access the app and apply for us to do a little bit of an eligibility, what we call an intake interview that just takes a few minutes. And we'll sit down together. I'm currently the main behavior specialist going on with Attend Behavior that's helping support everything. So what we do is we sit down and just kind of ask a few questions about where your eligibility is with everything like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and jump in and share my screen to show you guys what that looks like. All right, so that should be all up there for you to be able to see. And this is attendbehavior.com/main. And I also put that in the chat for you guys to use. So you can just pull that link out anytime you want. So in this, we just have a quick introductory video that kind of tells you a little bit about Attend Behavior and what we do, and that'll give you a quick introduction. And then you go down here and you can kind of look at these eligibility pieces where our eligibility that we're really looking for is folks that are eligible and do have main care currently. We want folks to the child to have a diagnosis of autism, ID, or developmental delay. And again, we've got about 200 licenses we're working with right now. We have quite a few left, so we're excited to get folks started. And then participation in the program has to be approved by DHHS. That's not a big deal. We've had really a lot of success in having people that are contacting me. I think there's been one or two people, and that weren't eligible. And the reason that they weren't eligible is because they had already had the curriculum that Attend Behavior is based on. That's called the Ruby Parent Training Curriculum. And folks that have already had that really aren't going to get as much help from this, or if they're currently getting Ruby, we want to make sure that if they're getting it already, we're not, doubling down. We want to just spread it around as best we can. Right, Jessica? Did I touch the base on that good? Okay, cool.
You sure did. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so participating families, they'll get to 12-month subscription to Attend. That comes with support from an Attend specialist. That's me. We'll help you get started. We'll give you some tips on how best to get everything that you can out of Attend. And then to answer product-related questions, what we can't do is give you like broad clinical advice, like take this and do this exact thing with your child. Those are the things that we're not able to do. But otherwise, I do my very best to hint through, here's where to find the best way to do that and give you what it takes to make it through and what tools to use to do that. So that being said, I'll tell you a little bit more about what Attend Behavior is before I jump into the demo. Attend Behavior is a program, it's an application on your phone where you'll have access to a lot of learning content. And what's in that learning content are what are really the foundational skills for dealing with complex human behavior, right? Excuse me. What we typically see in our kids, tantrums, not wanting to do what we say, all that stuff that kids do, right? Like we want to give you kind of the why are they doing that. And I often joke because I've been working with parents for a really long time, right? My entire career has been working with parents, foster care parents, really even just staff that are working in residential facilities. But all of them are working on the same kind of set of behaviors. And they would often say, man, I wish my kid would have come with a manual. And I'm like, well, this is kind of it. Let me see if I can give you the best parts of that and at least the foundational pieces. And still be able to look at it from a very trauma-informed, compassionate perspective where we're helping our kids learn and grow and all that good stuff. Sorry, guys, Texas allergies. So anyway, so does anybody have any questions so far? I am more than happy to stop at any point during the demo and just discuss things that are going on, any questions that you may have. So feel free to jump into the Q&A, into the chat, or I don't know if you guys are able to come off mute, but you can always interrupt me and say, hey, Alan, what about this? And I can answer those questions for you.
They can use the raise hand function too, Alan, and we can.
Excellent. All right. So anybody, don't be afraid to interrupt. That makes everything go better when we've got questions to answer. That means I hit the important parts when we get questions. All right, so we'll jump into the demo. Now, the first thing y'all are going to see whenever I change tabs here is the ugly side of attend behavior that we don't like to show people. So hold on, I'll try to go fast. I'm going to log in, and then we're going to go into my login side, and that'll be the same way that you guys log in. But whenever you log in, the screen will look like this, right? After we get you all set up and make sure you're eligible, you'll jump in there, and this is what it looks like whenever a parent has completed all of the stuff in attend behavior. It opens up these cool things around check-ins and new incidents and reminders, and we'll go over some more of that later. But the first thing we'll jump in is just jump straight in there with where you'll start. This is the learning content. In attend behavior, we've got 12 courses, and they are all centered around teaching folks a little bit more about how best to handle behavior when you're in that stressed out moment and everything's getting really hard and complicated and all that. And we already have a few questions. So how do you apply for a license to the program? If you go to this website right here, you'll fill out this sign up for attend piece here and then hit submit, and that'll send a message to me. All right. And somebody said chat is disabled.
Yeah, I addressed it in the chat. I just let them know to use the Q&A or raise their hand for questions, and we can get that addressed that way.
Okay, and then there was a question about eligibility. It looks like Jessica is going to answer that in the Q&A if you guys want to check that out.
You can see that, Alan. That's amazing. I might as well just, I was going to answer it in the Q&A, and then I thought maybe you'd call it out. And so I just want to say, if by way of developmental screening, there's a child that has showed signs of a need, it may not be a firm diagnosis of autism or a firm developmental delay, but if they have had a developmental screening, such as the well, any of them actually. I was just going to list a few of them up, but in any developmental screening whatsoever, ASQ was one that we offer free at Help Me Grow. And if they've showed signs of a developmental delay in any area, we would be happy to support the license for the family.
Very cool. Yep. I love being able to hook people up with it. Like anytime I can help somebody out, like that's what I'm here for. So love being able to get you guys started. So what we typically do is have folks jump straight into that content after we get you signed up. I jump right in there. I have people go, I want you to go do Meet Attend Behavior. This is our introductory course. You notice it's only 2 minutes long. We're just going to jump in there and give you this is what we're doing with attend behavior. It's kind of a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about today, but it's going to give you a little bit more detail on how to use the app, what it looks like for you. And that's just our intro course. And then I have folks jump into the content. So all of the content goes in kind of the similar routines, right? We've got short lessons from anywhere from 2 to, I think the longest one is around 15 minutes, and that's somewhere around creating schedules. But you'll read some content, watch some videos, do some learning, and we'll kind of take you through all of this stuff and nice step-by-step, go at your own pace pieces, give you some examples, some ways to practice things in real life. And that's with all of the content that we have here. We also try to kind of teach a common set of language for everybody to be able to use. And we feel like that's really important. And then with that, you'll be able to add anybody else that's involved in the child's care. And I'll show you guys a little bit more about that later. But just to show you quickly that through all of this course content, we kind of work in stepwise fashion to build out the base skills so that we grow into something that gets stronger and stronger, where we start getting into how do we teach some new skills that we become really strong with our child so that they can have some replacements for maybe the things that we don't like as much. So is that making sense to everybody so far? We'll move on just a little bit more. Cool. All right. So I'm going to run through the tabs with you guys really quick. So if we go over to home, one of the first things we do after everybody learns everything, we start to work on check-ins. And what check-ins are built on our schedule. We'll teach you to build a schedule because sometimes that's the toughest part, is to have a really functional schedule and get some routine for our children and really know where that's going. And once we do that and we build that out, then we're able to kind of put some ratings around where things went well. Maybe things were okay, but not the greatest. And then maybe leaving for school was really tough. So we start to collect some data around that stuff. So with our check-ins, we start to kind of show in your routine where the tough things happen, right? We are able to kind of prompt what routine we might use. So you'll pick these as you move through, what strategies you might use, what techniques you might use with the child, as we teach you what those are and where they're the best to be used. And at all times, we're able to take incident data, and I'll show you a little bit more. I'm going to pop out of here, but that's just another piece to jump into that incident piece. So back out here at the home screen, we've got our ability to take some incident data, and the purpose around this incident data is to start to see patterns around our child's behavior. When does it happen? Why does it happen? What's going on? And we can help you learn to do that. We want to empower parents to be in charge of that child's care, so that when they turn around and they're working with a professional at some point, somebody might tell them, maybe it's even your pediatrician, and they're like, well, your child is doing X, Y, Z. And you can say, I learned that this is why, right? I want you to be empowered to be in control of that. So you're always you're the one that knows your child better than anyone else. So I want you to be able to carry that, you know, and really know what's the best ways to do, what to do with that knowledge that you have, right? So with our incident data, we start to develop the looking at those patterns. We're going to have you define a couple of behaviors to practice with, right? What the prevention strategies you might use, who all's there, where those behaviors happen the most often. And then we talk a little bit about hypothesizing function. And function is really the why of behavior. Why are we engaging in that? So when we take data, we ask you what happened before, what happened after, and then you can upload photos or videos to keep and just kind of posterity around that stuff, right? So we're also able to go in, and you're able to set reminders. So you can set up a reminder for yourself to engage in a certain thing at a certain time to support your child's behavior. And we'll teach you more about where those are the most important pieces too, and coach you through setting those up. So once you've got all those pieces and you're going to learn all that content, we also have the ability to go back and edit all of that stuff. And that's within the plan tab. That way, if you get stuck with, you're like, oh, I defined that and I'd really like to change that. Or you decide that the behavior that you defined something around non-compliance, but tantrums are really starting to pick up, you can go back and change that. You can focus on something a little bit different through your learning. And also, it tends to happen that you're going to learn a lot about the two behaviors that are most important to you first. And you're going to start to develop these skills around, okay, this is what I need to do when something different happens, right? I often use the old story about, you know, teach a man to fish. That's, you know, instead of giving them the fish, we want to teach you to be able to deal with it on your own in the moment without the stress levels that we end up with quite often when we're dealing with our children. And then we're able to set up techniques and prevention strategies. Everything that you have is editable within here. So we also, and it wouldn't be a behavior app if we didn't have charts, if we didn't keep track of everything for you to be able to see. So you'll be able to come in and take a look at your child's behavior and say, we talked about those check-in ratings, right? So with our check-ins, we're able to see where things are really happening. So we start to see, oh, wait, putting away school items is really a tough time for us. How can we focus on this time of day and what we're doing this time? What is it about putting away school items that is the toughest part? Because I've even seen with the most experienced parents, because we're caught up in our day and the busyness of their stress and our work and all of the things that we're doing, that we tend to not quite see this if we're not able to collect it together. We may have really thought that it was, you know, completing schoolwork, but really where this all started was when we put away school items. So we're able to kind of zero in on what's the most important piece is, right? So that's where the importance of all that data stuff starts to come in. We're also able to look at the graphs around our incidents. We look at what days it's happening, what days of the week it's occurring more often with, incidents by time of day. We're really able to zero in around when those things are happening, because just for example, I have seen seasonal allergies like my own be a lot of incident trouble around that. And we're able to, what days were that? And like we see a spike during times when allergies were up, and we're like, oh, some Zyrtec might really make a big difference in this child's life, right? And it's just simple stuff like that that we're able to target and figure out what's going on. All right, so then teaching skills, we also keep data around that. And I'm going to slide back just a second because I want to show you guys something that I'm actually just really proud of in here, because when we're working with you guys on teaching skills, we've got a list of skills here for you to pick from that are about 100 of the most common skills that parents are teaching to their children. So you're able to pull that out in a task analysis. So let's take a look at, say, personal hygiene, and we want to teach something like hand washing. We all know how important hand washing is, right? So we have a task, what we call a task analysis built here. So based on your particular sink and bathroom setup and the way you feel like hand washing is the most effective for your child and your environment, you can reorder these, you can add to them, where you're going to teach it using forward and backward chaining, and we'll teach you a lot more about what forward and backward chaining and why that's important as well. But we're able to really help get skills in a very teachable order. And that's really, really helpful for parents to be able to really draw that in and it be a really strong and influential thing, right? So all of that good stuff being said, I'm going to take a quick break here and ask if there are any questions and check the Q&A. You are looking for, someone is looking for the website. I would guess, I'm going to guess that, let me go ahead and I'm going to put the link as an answer to that question. And I'm guessing that someone probably went to attendbehavior.com and didn't get the /main. So make sure you're getting the /main to get to where you'll fill this out. Okay. And
Alan,
this also,
can we also tell the audience what age group, you know, this works really good in? Because I don't know if all the audience knows what ages this is for.
so all of the examples and everything are designed for kids up to around 11, right? I have used the Ruby curriculum with folks around 30 that had behavior, that had developmental delay. And Dr. Karen Bears, the author of Ruby, might say, well, Alan, that's not exactly how we designed Ruby. And that's the research that we've done has been through this younger age range. But what the curriculum is a foundational behavioral skills. The things that we teach in Attend Behavior are just the building blocks of and the science of human behavior. It's very simple stuff. It is the things that we need to know about our own behavior, because anything that behaves, like the building blocks of it, are within what we're teaching there. What's tough is the examples that we have in here are for younger kids, like the kid throwing a tantrum for a brownie, for instance, and the ABCs of behavior is the example we use. But no matter what, when folks are going through Attend Behavior, there has been some feedback where parents, well, that's not the example, like that's not what my kid does. And like, okay, well, let's think about what your child does do. And how does that fit within this ABC example? What came before that behavior? What exactly was the behavior that we can observe? And what did you do in response to that behavior? So how can we change that set of ABC contingencies to kind of think about what we can do differently, right? So my answer to that is probably within this project around under 18 for now. And that's just around what Dr. Bears has mentioned as when I asked, what are you guys looking at? And Dr. Bears said under 18. So does that help? Cool. All right, so the next
Alan,
piece
can I
is-
just, sorry, can I jump in for a quick second? In
For
regards to the link that Alan provided, when it comes to registration for the app, you gotta scroll to the bottom of the page. So it's not right at the top of the page, it's at the bottom of the page. You'll scroll down to the bottom to register.
Thank you.
Yep.
I should have been more clear on where that actually is in there. All right, guys. So if there's not any more questions right now, we'll jump over here and I'll show you guys a couple of more things. So this is where you edit your profile and all that good stuff like that. And you'll notice that this is fully available in English and Spanish at the moment. This is where you change any account settings and all of those cool things like that. This is where those that are within the main program would be able to reach out to me, and what it'll say main care specialist, where you'd be able to reach out to me to ask any questions around anything that's going on. And then we also have the Connect tab. Now, this is where I really wanted to stop and take a little bit of time. Is it's important for everyone that is working with your child to be involved in that care and to learn the language around their particular care, because it can be even like the word tantrum can mean so many different things, right? So we want to make sure everybody is on the same page about what tantrum is. We want them to be on the same page about what rewarding that appropriate behavior is. What is the reward? How should we deliver it? When should we deliver it? All that good stuff like that. So it's important that you jump in and you can add any caregiver involved, and they can be part of that child's care team. So you may have four grandparents, spouse, babysitter, a daycare person. You could add all of those folks to be involved and be able to see all that stuff. And you just put in their name and who they are and invite them, and it sends a little link out to them. And they have full access to all of the content for no other charge than what you've already got. So that's a really important piece that I want to make sure that you guys see. And that's really about all of the behavior side of what we're the parent facing content that you guys will see. Are there any other questions about attend behavior or getting set up or any of that stuff like that? All right, I guess I did an okay job. But also feel free, I can throw my email address in here as well into the chat, and you can email me with any other questions. So I'll go ahead and do that right now.
And while you do that, Alan, I'll just jump in and say, when families go onto the landing page and they sign up and would request to be a recipient of a license, you then reach out to them, or someone on your team will reach out to them to make sure that they meet eligibility requirements. So there's kind of this little additional screening process just to make sure that a child, if the diagnosis is just ADHD only, for instance, you would determine that that family may not be eligible for attend. Is that correct?
Yes. So we're looking for diagnoses of autism, ID, or DD. I think that we have had people who were getting new diagnoses and updated diagnoses that I went ahead and signed up because they were in that process.
Sure.
But it was because they, it's sometimes takes a while to get that.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And we want to rule families in, not out. We don't, it's just that the evidence supports that this modality is effective with the populations we're trying to serve: autism, ID, and developmental delay. So thank you so much.
And I wanted to add something that I really like the idea of being able to share with the team. And I'm specifically talking about the school team, because so many parents see different behaviors at home than when they see at school, and making sure that they're on that same page, they'll get to see what the parent is seeing. So I do like that a lot.
And around that, it's a fantastic point. And I'll point out that often we see at school a different set of things happening than are happening at home. And sometimes there's more tantrums at school, or sometimes there's more at home. And when we're able to tell, okay, what's the difference, right? Like, we're able to sit down as an IDT team or at that IEP meeting and say, okay, what's different? Who's doing what? And how can we change what's happening here to ameliorate that behavior as much as we can, right? So those are the things that we want to be looking at with that data. And that's why data becomes so important whenever we're looking at folks with ID, DD, or autism, because we really are able to kind of dig deeper into why and what we can do to change that environment to help facilitate that child reaching their full potential. And in the long run, our whole entire family reaching their full potential, lowering our stress levels, just having the ability to have a lot more fun time, right? Because we're not dealing with tantrums.
Families print out anything that we could actually physically have on paper form?
So from the clinician side, I definitely can print everything out. They could print screen on any one of these things where they pull things out, all of their data. As far as the content itself, they aren't able to print that unless you did. You could do a print screen if you wanted to. But anybody who has any request for any data or just the full piece, then they can certainly I can get that for anyone who needs it. What happens to the data collected? Is it used for something? So that data is all for you to be able to use. And we're going to teach you how to best use that data to make decisions about how to change things that you might do with your child, if that helps. That answer your question? Hopefully. Cool, thank you so much. And we'll also be able to, if you like she was asking earlier, like Kathy was asking, if you have, say, an IEP meeting that you want to be able to share all of that data with, like top to bottom, everything that you've seen in its behavior, your graphs and all that stuff, you can pull it up on your phone and show them those graphs in real time. Or you can reach out to me as the main specialist, and I can have a PDF of every bit of data that you have printed out for you.
Alan, recently you presented to a doctor who was really interested in also being part of his patients' attend work. So if a family is very involved with their pediatrician and they would like to either share the app with the doctor or would like to show data, could you talk about how that might work?
If you guys have a pediatrician that would like to be involved, if you guys just email me, we'll get a meeting set up and I'll give them a quick training on the clinician side, because there's a clinician portal that pediatrician would be able to access your data with. And as long as we get the correct consents put together and everything, we can share that. It's just, it has to be consent on both sides. And we'll make sure that I can set them up as your clinician where they can see all of your data through the clinician portal, and they'll have their own login and all that good stuff. Token economy. That's a really good question. We'll teach you a lot about how to use that token economy, but cashing in the stars, as your question is there, comes on your end. You'll decide how those tokens will be traded in for your child is the best way, in the best way possible. So it'll teach you a little bit more about how, oh, okay, you used all your stars and you'll start over again, right? So, and I don't want this to be the only piece of token economy. If you're already using something that has stars, say, you can still create a paper token economy. What I want to make sure I do is I teach you the best ways to use a token economy with your child, right? Not to say you have to use it in the app, but this is the best way that it can function for you. Any other questions, guys?
I just typed an answer to a question that I'll just touch on. OCFS is paying for the app to be provided to 200 families. I just want to give you the background for that. A couple years ago it started, we were working on Section 28, and that is a MaineCare rehabilitative and community services for children with cognitive impairments and functional limitations. In short, we have been working in collaboration with MaineCare and trying to really build the service to what it was intended to be. And that work is still ongoing. But during that time, we listened to the parents who said there is not any sort of support for families with children with these diagnoses. And so we did our research, and this is what we came up with. Ruby, which we are providing at no cost to any provider in the state of Maine who wants to partake, 400 slots of Ruby and 200 slots of this Attend app. And that is a means for families who are not able to receive Ruby in person to receive the service. And that is, it is a manualized parenting program. This app is so cool because it takes the manual and puts it in an app form. And with technology that is so robust in our communities and in our homes, we know that this will be especially powerful for those families that are in rural areas, and also families that are really tech driven. So that's the why behind what we're doing today. And we're just really thankful for the feedback that we've received from families, and are grateful that we've been able to help in this way. So thank you, Alan, for everything that you've been able to support us in.
Man, thank you guys for the opportunity to be able to do this, because I find that often parents, families, whether it's foster caregivers, whoever that caregiver is, gets left out of the equation of care, and the parent is searching for care. I need someone to do this. I need somebody to help me with that, and to do these things. When what's most important, and what I just wear clinicians out with, is that if you don't teach the parent how to do the things that you are doing with their child, those things don't go home. And if they don't go home, then they don't last until that child's 30 or 40, and they aren't able to achieve that level of independence and full potential that they would have been able to if they were able to do these things at home and learn these special skills, right? So it's my mission, and regardless of working for Attend Behavior, to be able to get that message out there and to help you guys navigate that, and it just reduce the stress that folks that are parenting children with IDDD, autism, and other developmental disabilities are dealing with every day. So we had a question. Son is receiving Section 28 services, but there's a high turnover rate in BHP. Those folks would still be eligible for the app, correct, Jessica? So you could apply, and we could.
Yeah, I would encourage Tracy to apply. If, certainly not if your son is receiving Ruby in their Section 28 specialized service, just because we don't want to duplicate and potentially work on different things that might be confusing for him, both, in the BHP live services or ABA driven services that he's receiving with a specialized 28 provider and in the home. But if you're experiencing a kind of a gap or time that he's not able to receive services, I would be happy to support, you getting a license for the Attend app to work on those things.
Yeah, so I went ahead and pulled the website back up, the attendbehavior.com/Maine, to show you guys where you would sign up for the app. I may have missed the beginning. Can you have more than one child in the family on the app? Jessica, that's a great question for you to answer. That is possible, but it would use multiple licenses.
I know that I'm okay with that. I think that that's fine, Alan. So you can go ahead and approve those as they come through. I think that I remember, I just wouldn't want the parents to get confused about, so much Ruby, so much going on but I would be fine with it as long as you would have some oversight into that, Alan. And
so the app is built for the parent to be able to have multiple children. And what happens is each time they finish a follow-up activity, so say they're going to define what those behaviors are for child A. As soon as they define them for child A, they'd immediately have another prompt to define them for child B. They wouldn't have to go through the content twice. It would just let them collect the data and practice the concepts with both.
Yeah, that's totally fine with me. I did take the Ruby training myself, and Karen cautioned against having two siblings in it at the same time. So I wasn't sure if it would be the same as with the Attend app, but it sounds like you've got it very compartmentalized and families are able to juggle that, and that's fine with me. If we can give families skills to manage their children in the home at the same time, I think we need to do whatever we can to do that.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you. My son has autism BDID. He's 16. He receives RSC and school-based. I believe that would meet the eligibility requirements
Yeah.
that we've been
Yep.
talking about. And Tracy, if you sign up, we can get on a call and discuss that more. And it'll just be you and I can go through it step by step. What does RUBY stand for? That's a really good question. I don't know if I've ever thought that. Do you know what the acronym is for?
Yeah, it's Research Units in Behavioral Intervention. It's RUBI. And so, yeah, it's the modality that this is, Alan can talk about it. I mean, just, we are in a world of acronyms, aren't we? We just live there. And so they just rattle right off our tongue, but, essentially it's just a cool way to, I think of Ruby and it's like in its beauty, and that is that it is a great parent training, manualized parent training, and this Attend app is built from Ruby. So you can talk about that piece, but Research Unit in Behavioral Intervention.
We talk about it being manualized a lot, and there are the worlds, especially with the ABA, where you'll hear us, well, manualized, that means it's too prescriptive and it's not teaching. It's like, well, that's because you're not using it correctly.
Right.
Everything about having something manualized should be about scalability. This is so that you don't miss important concepts, that we make sure that we go through. With Attend Behavior, it is the full Ruby parent training content. And what that is just quality foundational parent training skills. That is what Ruby is. And it's a place for you as a parent to be able to jump off from. What do I need to do? What basic skills do I need to learn to address this more complex stuff, right? So that's what's important to know there about Ruby, is that's what it is and what it's designed to help you move forward with.
And I just want to jump off and say on that, Alan, you think manualized and you think, oh goodness, like not every child has the same behavior. So how can a manualized parenting instruction work for my family? And I've just found it so cool that it's just the ballpark of behaviors. And so it looks different for every child in every family, and every family may have a different thing that they struggle with. But it is family driven, and the parent designs what they want to be working on. The challenges that they're working on that week is really designed by the family, and not necessarily the manual.
Yeah, and that's what we do with Attend Behavior is take Ruby and give you the ability to build a plan, a flexible plan for yourself and for your family in a way that you're able to move into the future with and see what you might change and learn and keep learning. And then, I've seen folks use the app for a year to 2 years, and then they get to where they settle into the routine and they're like, oh, okay, I got this, right? It's to teach you to be able to handle it all as much as possible. I will say that when we have folks apply that have a child who has really severe aggressive behavior, they may have some behaviors where they're really hurting themselves. If we've got adolescents, there may even be some sexual things that are involved that are a little bit more intense. Those don't disqualify a person from Ruby being effective intervention for them to learn and for Attend Behavior to continue to be effective for them. What's important to remember, though, is those kinds of more severe behaviors will probably require you to still be on the lookout to try to get some more professional, more one-on-one kind of assistance, right? I don't want, if there's especially the risk of severe injury, we don't want to just be leaning on those pieces. We want to make sure that you're getting the appropriate help.
Jessica, I got a question. What if a family does Ruby for like a year and then they drop out? Can that slot become available for another family, or is it just 200 and then the department's done?
So the slots of it, okay, so if they did it for a year, they would have maximized it. I think most families really only use it for a short amount of time. Alan can check me on that. But if a family gets started and it's shown on your end, Alan, that they're not using it, I think there was something that we wrote into the contract agreement with Attend, that you would kind of analyze and assess on your side what's being used. So there is a possibility if someone downloads the app but really never accesses it, that they could lose their ability to, or their license, just because if they're not using it, someone else could. Exactly what you asked, Kathy. But I don't remember the language of it or how long. It might be like 60 days or something along those lines. I can't remember.
Yeah, and those are things I would have to check with our founder and CEO, Stuart, to make sure that of the answer to that question. But I do find that Ruby or especially the Attend app are used somewhere within 8 months to a year. Most of the time, some folks like to carry out the data collection a little further just because they like it, like people, and they love the reminders and they change them and they continue to work with it. So some people do like to keep it for longer. And those are things that we can kind of cross those bridges when we get there. Hopefully we get really successful and continue to expand, right? So that's everybody's hope here. All right. So if you guys have more questions, I'll happy to sit, and you can always email me and reach out. And it looks like I've already gotten quite a few folks sign up during the meeting. So I'll be jumping on there and you'll be receiving an email from me before the day's over for us to set up a meeting. I do apologize for how cluttered my calendar is going to be when you guys jump on there to sign up, because I've got a lot going on for the next couple of weeks, but we will get you signed up and we will get you set up ASAP.
I also want to say thank you to Carrie and to Kathy for hosting this. And, I can send you some flyers if you'd like to have some on hand for families that may come into the office looking for support. But we are just happy to support families in any way that we can. This is just one way. I also want to say, just shameless plug for Help Me Grow. If any of the families on the line would like to know more about Help Me Grow, I would love to talk about it. It's a free service for any family here in Maine with children 0 to 8. It's a central access point that connects families with information about child development, but also community resources. And so we provide up to 60 days of care coordination to make sure that families are connected to the services that we recommend. And so would be happy to talk to any of the families that are on the call about that as well.
We have a hand raised as well. Cindy Tardif. I don't know how we can allow her to be off mute.
She should be.
That
able
was
to
an
unmute.
accident, so I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was an accident. Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Very fun. So yeah, I'll be in touch with all of you guys that are signing up. We'd love for all of you to sign up and get started with the app. I have gotten great feedback from the folks that have been using the app consistently so far. So it always makes me feel good when we're able to help somebody out and they really feel like they're getting something out of it. So please reach out. We'll get you set up as quickly as we can.
Thank you to Alan and Jessica for making the information available. I did put the Help Me Grow link from the DHHS website in the chat box as well, if anybody wanted more information on that. Just know that, if you forget who to email, or, you didn't take Alan's information down, or you don't have Jessica's information down, you can always contact Kathy and I through Maine Parent Federation or Autism Society Maine. We will be sure to get you connected. And we have recorded this today. We're going to try to get it up on our website at npf.org, but we also have the link. So if it's something you want to rewatch, just email Kathy and I, and we can provide you with the link so that you can watch the recording again. I'm not seeing any more questions or hands raised. So with that, I want to thank you all for attending, and hope you can get out, enjoy some of the 70-degree weather in October that we're going to be having here in Maine in the next few days. Thanks for joining and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.